Welcome to the Sportswatch 12 Face-Off, where the Newswatch 12 sports team talks about the storylines from sports in our area and around the state, and we'll tell y'all exactly what we're thinking. No holds barred. I'm sports director Saul Meyer. That's Will Harrelson, and that is Drew Chelly. Guys, how are we feeling tonight?
Well, this is really exciting. First ever time we're going to do this, like close to a half-hour show. Usually little short sports segments you see us on the news, but this will be fun to talk about the things that are going around our area for a longer time and let you know how we are all really feeling here.
Yeah, absolutely. Something new to do, which is always fun. And again, like you just said, Will, we're kind of just giving the facts, every night. We're giving you scores, we're giving you updates, from the pro teams. Here we can kind of give opinions, which is a little different and something I think we're all going to enjoy.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace. Let's jump into it. The Great Northern Conference Boys Hockey Tournament is here. Tomahawk finished the round-robin portion undefeated, and the Hatchets were able to win their opening round match against Medford 11-2. They'll take on the defending GNC champs, Mosinee, who made it all the way to state last year. And the other semifinals matchup is a team that has been consistently good, Lakeland Union, hosting, kind of a surprise team this year in Wapaka. And with these four teams left, who do y'all think is going to come out of the conference tournament as GNC champs? We'll start with you, Will.
Well, I was at that game against Tomahawk against Medford, the 11-1 game, where it was just now offensive explosion for Tomahawk. And I'm going to be devil's advocate and say the team that has been there and done that, Mosinee, I think they're going to get it done and win it. They've been playing really, really hot as of late. I know they kind of had a tough game in the Eagle River tournament a couple weeks ago, but overall, Mosinee's been playing just too well, in my opinion, to pick against them.
All right, what about you, Drew?
I got the Hatchets, and I've seen them a lot this year, so maybe that's why my pick is leaning that way. But every time I see them, I just watch them put the puck in the net and then do it a lot for the rest of the night. They just score a lot of goals. They're hard to stop. And, I watched the first game against Mosinee. They kind of sent a message that night when they beat them 9-4 on their home ice. Not saying Mosinee can't beat them in the semifinal or that one of the other two teams couldn't beat them in a potential championship game. But overall, I just think the Hatchets are the most explosive, most complete team in the GNC. They've been that all season, and I think they're just going to do it two more times and be crowned champions.
Well, all they have to do is just make the championship game to at least be crowned co-champions. But, for me, you chose offense. I'm going the opposite way, and I'm going to kind of go with the team that's been strong defensively this year, Lakeland Union. The T-Birds have been clean this year. To be honest, for the past couple of seasons, a state tournament appearance in the past couple of years, they were one game away from winning the conference last year, one game away from making the state tournament last year, and they've just been a solid unit. They haven't been blown out, but they also haven't blown teams out. Once they get that comfortable lead, they say, okay, now we're going to coast, we're going to play our game, take it our pace. They're a team that really, takes control on the ice, and I think that's what gets them at least a finals win, which, if it's against Tomahawk, would make them co-champs, but at least I think that'll get them something. All right, so staying in the Great Northern Conference, the conference swim meet just happened this past weekend, and well, if you can guess it, Rhinelander looked absolutely dominant en route to a 160-point win over the next best team. The Hodags won the state title last year for the boys. The girls were able to win it all back in the fall. So do y'all think the Hodags can go back-to-back and win a state title this year? Will, we'll start with you.
I think absolutely they can, and they've proven it year in and year out. Coach Jenny Heck just has that team ready every night, whether it's an afternoon game, whether it's at night, in the morning. They come, they hit the pools, they do what they've done all season long. They come out and win. It's hard to say that Rhinelander isn't going to get there. And it's hard to say that they wouldn't be prepared to get back to state because they've been there, they've done that, they've got the experience. So I'm going to say, yes, Rhinelander's got it.
What about you, Drew?
They're going to be at state. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Winning state, I'm going to say it's going to be tough for them. And it's not because the swimmers they have aren't capable of winning. It's a numbers thing. Swimming is so much of a how many total swimmers can you get to qualify for state?
Right.
Rhinelander really only has 10, 11 boys on the team. If they run into a team at state that has 18 kids competing, they just might not be able to keep up points-wise. And that's why the girls were so successful. They had girls in every single race. It didn't really matter whether they were winning or not. If they just placed in the top three, they were just piling up points. The boys are going to have trouble doing that.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point both of y'all make. I kind of think they can go back, though. And the reason is, It's the coaching. I mean, you talked about Jenny Heck. You've got your Bear Bryants. You've got your Nick Saban.
She just wins.
You've got your Jenny Heck.
It
doesn't matter who you have. You know, most of the coaches in our area will see they win with their kids, and then when their kids, you know, kind of graduate, they're done, they retire. Jenny's just won. She wins
a cycle.
with anyone. You throw anyone on her team, she creates superstars and they win. Yeah, I think they're going to win state this year. I think they go back to back. All right, moving over to the Northern Lakes Conference, Leona Wabeno girls basketball was able to make it to state this past year and looked like they may be on track to do it again, but a home loss to conference opponent Florence is raising some eyebrows. Will, how do you think the Rebels can make it back to the big dance?
Well, I've been to several of their games, wins and losses now, and one of the key things that stuck out to me in each of their wins is they play complementary basketball. They do their defense favors by not getting in deep holes, because all of a sudden once you get 10-point deficits, you're going to have to start shooting like threes, getting back into the game. They just stay on point. They just keep getting buckets. They play good defense, force turnovers. So if they want to get back to the state, they got to play good complementary basketball. I think they can, and I think they will.
What about you, Drew?
It's going to take more this year than it did last year. They were better a year ago, which means this year a lot more has to go right when the tournament comes around. They're going to have trouble, especially when they get deeper towards state, of out-talenting teams, which means they're going to have to outwork teams, maybe 2-3 games in a row. That's just harder to do than it was a year ago. Are they good enough and well-coached enough to pull it off? Yes, but getting there as opposed to the way they had to do it last year, it's going to be a tough task.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot easier said than done. And kind of bouncing off that point, what I think is they're going to have to pull out those scrappy wins, kind of like you said. I'm looking at this team this year. It's rocky. I mean, you got the team. They're not the flashy, undefeated, they look perfect, unbeatable unit, but they weren't last year either. And they still made it because they were able to beat Edgar in an absolute dogfight. Yep. And I think if they can pull out 2 or 3 of those this year in the playoffs, that's an easy way for them to go right back. Leona Wabeno will look to get back on track in their next game when they take on conference opponent Goodman Pembine. After the break, we'll break down our game of the week, which very well could influence the future of GNC girls basketball. Don't go anywhere. You're watching the Sportswatch 12 Face-Off. Welcome back to the Sportswatch 12 Face-Off. I'm Newswatch 12 Sports Director Saul Meyer. This is Will Harrelson. This is Drew Chelly. Guys, we have got a big game this week that may influence the future of the Great Northern Conference in girls basketball. Our game of the week, Lakeland Union at Rhinelander. These two teams have already faced off this season, with the T-Birds taking down the Hodags 77-34 in Minocqua. But the next game will be at Rowdy Rhinelander High School. Lakeland Union has been dominant the past few seasons. They're on a 26 conference game win streak, and if they beat Mosinee, it'll be 27, plus they're coming off of a state tournament appearance. However, Rhinelander looks like they've got a superstar in the making in freshman phenom Auburn Clark. And Mosinee is looking to get back on top in the GNC as well. The T-Birds' core stars are all juniors or younger. So do y'all think that anyone will be able to dethrone Lakeland Union in the GNC?
I think Rhinelander in time will. Like we said, that this year she's just been phenomenal for Rhinelander. 19 points in a row. I mean, that's just incredible. So give it time. Rhinelander eventually will. Now this year, it's hard to beat Lakeland Union. Christina Wilmette has been just playing out of her mind for the T-Birds this year. So give Rhinelander time. Let Auburn Clark learn more of the high school basketball system, and Rhinelander will catch up with the T-Birds.
What about you, Drew?
Not anytime soon. I mean, Lakeland, they're bringing everybody back next year, too, from this group that's already undefeated. No one's going anywhere, and if you're dominant as juniors, you don't just lose it as seniors. So, yeah, Rhinelander is catching them, especially as their younger girls that play a lot as freshmen get older. But it's a waiting game. You're going to have to wait the T-Birds out, and that waiting game does not end this year. It's going to end after next year. So, yeah, I don't see how it – I mean, they're a good team, but Lakeland Union's a great one. And they're a great one with none of their core players leaving. So throughout next year, it's Lakeland's conference to lose, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you and Will in a way. You know, kind of let me put both y'all's points together. Lakeland Union's full of juniors. They're going to win it this year. They're going to win it next year. But when they all leave and they all graduate, who takes over? I think no one is taking over Lakeland anytime soon. We're talking the next year or two. Maybe in 2 to 3 years, there will be a team that takes over. Maybe it'll be Mosinee with Taylor Jersley. Maybe it'll be Rhinelander with Auburn Clark and, well, the other Clark that is coming up. It kind of depends, but the way Lakeland Union has been last year and this year, everyone wanted to know, how are you going to win without Juliana Womette? Well, you throw in Christina Womette.
You just reload.
You reload with another Womette. And unfortunately, there are no longer younger Womette siblings after Christina for Lakeland. So it's going to be very hard. And, I mean, not anytime soon. I don't think anyone is going to dethrone the T-Birds anytime soon. Now, talking about how Rhinelander and how good they are right now with their young players like Auburn Clark, how high is the ceiling for the Hodags?
Well, I mean, we talked about it's going to be a process for these teams to eventually get to the level that Lakeland Union is right now. But based off what I've just seen from Auburn this year, she can create her own shots offensively, and any given night she can give you 20 points. I think at the end of the day, the ceiling for this Rhinelander team is give them time to establish. I mean, the offense goes around Auburn. There's no secret about it. The offense goes around her. But give them time to kind of find themselves their own identity as individual players. I think the ceiling for this Rhinelander team in the future will be competing for state tournaments. I really do. I think they'll have an opportunity to get to that level.
That is a massive statement, knowing that our game of the week is them playing a team coming off of a state appearance. Could see them go there. What about you, Drew?
Yeah, I got to agree with what Will just said. It's just going to take a little bit of time. And I think one thing you see, especially around our area, is when you have a coach with a kid on the team, that group, that age group, seems to be the one that is. I mean, you see it with Lakeland. You see it with
sure.
Three Lakes basketball. Brad Volkman's got his kid Toby and 8 kids that age.
Right.
Rex Riley plays for his dad Dewey on the Tomahawk hockey team. That's been Rex's group for a long time. So once Ryan Clark gets his daughter in that group that he's been with up to the varsity level, all of them, because some are not there yet, they're all freshmen, and there's more coming behind them, that's when this team's going to be really good.
Right.
And we've seen Lakeland get to state once, and coming out of this, a similar bracket, similar region, Rhinelander can do it, but it's going to take, I'd say, a year or two. You got to wait till those girls are, juniors, sophomore, juniors, and then you can really see how good they're going to be.
Get the experience under them, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with y'all. My point is, I'm going to tell Brian Paulson right now, if you're watching this, you better prep those banners. That girls basketball team, I don't know if it's going to be a Great Northern Conference banner, if it's going to be a regional banner, sectional banner, state banner. They're going to have banners hanging in the rafters.
They're coming.
It's coming.
You better prep some space in that gym and in your trophy case for what this Rhinelander girls basketball team is going to do starting in, I will give it 2 years,
2 years.
maybe. 2 years, and this team is going to be unbeatable.
Yeah, it's going to be a good squad.
Rhinelander will host Lakeland Union this Friday, and this game will have no shortage of superstars. Who do y'all think will be the X factor for this game?
So we've talked about, Christina Womette and Auburn Clark. I'm going to throw kind of an oddball out there. It's going to be a player on Lakeland Union, Ava Evenhouse. She's been the one that kind of does a little bit of the dirty work. She gets those low rebounds. She extends those offensive possessions. I think the key for this one, we saw it was a dominating game the first 2 times these teams played. If Lakeland Union's going to want to repeat that in hostile territory, they're going to need to extend these offensive possessions, give themselves every chance to score that bucket. I'm going to say Ava Evenhouse's ability to extend offensive plays and also play good defense is the key for Lakeland Union.
And she's the only, or they're one of their big core players who's not a junior.
Yeah,
she's a
the
sophomore.
only one in their rotation that's not a part of that 2025 class.
So do you have someone as an X factor for Rhinelander or Lakeland?
Lakeland. When I talk about an X factor, I say, okay, what does one team have that the other team doesn't? And right now, what Lakeland Union has is a Division I basketball commit.
Yeah.
Christina Womette averages, 29, 8, and 10. There's just no matching that.
The past week she tied the school record for most threes in a game.
Well, there's no match.
Which she held.
Yeah, no one else on the court's matching that from either team. I mean, that's just what a Division I athlete does versus, when you're the one Division I commit, you're on a different level.
Yeah.
And she's just on a different level. And if she plays well, you can't reach that level.
Right.
She's going to go in there, probably have 30, and no one else is probably going to have 30 in that game. So, yeah, she's the difference. And that's why Lakeland's so much better than the rest of the league right now.
And I'll give you my counterpoint to that, because you said Lakeland has something that Rhinelander doesn't, a Division I basketball player. I'll say Rhinelander doesn't have one right now. And that's why my X factor, Auburn Clark, I mean, she's got to be a D1 star to make it. Come on.
She's going to get D1 looks. There's no doubt about it.
And that's why I think, Auburn is the X factor. You see the highlights. She can make the pass. She can shoot. She can drive. The defense is there. Yep. The only problem is the height. And I think that you got 3 players that are 6'1" on Lakeland Union versus 0 that are 6'1" on Rhinelander. Yep. The rebounds are going to be there, but how well do you need to get rebounds for Rhinelander if you've got someone like Auburn who's hot that night and just won't miss? Yeah. Auburn is a type of player who can drop 40 if she's dropped 40. She can drop 40. She could drop 50. We have no idea. That's why mine's Auburn Clark is my X factor for this game. Tip-off for that game will be Friday at 6 p.m. at Rhinelander High School. Coming up, though, on the Sportswatch 12 Face-Off, lots of firings and hirings going on for Wisconsin's pro sports teams in the past week. We'll tell you all our expectations for the new coaches after the break. Welcome back to the Sportswatch 12 Face-Off. I'm Saul Meyer. That's Will Harrelson. That is Drew Chelly. Guys, in the past 2 weeks, we have seen the Bucks fire head coach Adrian Griffin, hire Doc Rivers as his replacement. The Packers fire defensive coordinator Joe Barry, hire Jeff Hafley as his replacement, and the Brewers trade away their ace pitcher Corbin Burns. There's a lot to talk about. Let's start with Doc Rivers, NBA Coach of the Year award winner and NBA champion as a coach. How many titles will he win with the Bucks, or will he even win one? Will, what do you think?
I'm going to be the pessimist of the group here. I'm going to say I don't think they're going to win one. I was one who, when Adrian Griffin was let go, I was wondering, God, halfway through the season, the second best record in the East, I just don't know if that was the right move for Milwaukee. Now, listen, I like Doc Rivers. He's obviously, Drew, you know this. They won the title with the Celtics back in 2008. He's got the ability to get a team back there. I just think at this point in the season, changing your head coach it's not necessarily the greatest decision, and I just don't think Doc is going to bring home a ring.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one. I think you give it 3 years of Doc, Giannis, Damian Lillard. They're going to be in the playoffs every year, and you just think got to break your way. This team can win one. Yeah. Will they is the question. A couple things go right. I think there is a championship in that core threesome of now Doc, Giannis, Lillard, but you're just going to have to wait and see.
I mean, I think one. I also think maybe 2. I think maybe 3. I mean, I think Doc proved he can win with a good team with the Celtics. Now, I know he only won 1, but, I mean, the East, all you need to do is beat the Celtics right now. I mean, and as long as you beat the Celtics, then you just got 1 series. Realistically, for the Bucks, you got 2 series to win. I think Doc can do that multiple times in a year. Now on to the Packers, letting go of Joe Barry and hiring Boston College head coach Jeff Hafley to replace him as DC. Green Bay's defense has struggled lately. Is Hafley the answer?
I'll just keep this short and sweet here. It's hard to get as worse than what the Packers were in a few situations this season. Getting a new face in the defensive coordinator thing is going to do wonders for Green Bay.
I think his scheme alone is going to make fans happy. I mean, how many times this year do we hear Packers fans, why are they so far off the receivers on third down? Jeff Hafley wants one thing, press coverage. He makes life difficult for the receivers. Will it work in the NFL? Maybe, maybe not. But for Packers fans, the thought of it is going to be something they're really going to look forward to.
I mean, the thought of it is good. On paper, it's good. But I'm going to be honest. It's a Packers team loaded with superstars. But I don't think this is the guy to help it. He coached Rondé Barber when he was assistant DB coach. Coach Richard, but that was also the year Rondé Barber retired, or the year before he retired. So he was kind of out of his prime. He got Richard Sherman. He coached him, also a little bit out of his prime. So, and you got the defense. It looks good on paper, but I just don't see it happening. I think it's the same old defense. Coming up on the Sportswatch Face-Off, some big-time performances from our local athletes, but only one will be crowned our Athlete of the Week. We'll tell y'all who it is after the break. There were a lot of big-time performances last week from athletes in our area, but only one can be our Newswatch 12 Athlete of the Week. And this week, the best performance from the best team this week is his 5 points and a hat trick helped the Tomahawk Hatchets take down Medford with an 11-goal performance from the team to move on to the conference tournament semifinals. And that's why Caleb Dickens is our Athlete of the Week.
Caleb Dickens only needed one game to solidify himself as our Newswatch 12 Athlete of the Week. He only needed 16 seconds to solidify himself as a threat to their Great Northern Conference tournament game against Medford, scoring his first goal in that time span. Dickens didn't stop there, though, scoring 2 more goals to complete the hat trick and adding in another 2 assists to finish with 5 points on the night to help his team come out with the 11-2 win and advance to the tournament semifinals. Some teams have solid performances, and while Tomahawk's team looked unbeatable, Dickens stood on top of a very tall mountain. He and the Hatchets will be back on the ice on Tuesday when they host the defending conference champs Mosinee in the semifinals of the Great Northern Conference Tournament. Congrats, Caleb Dickens, on being named the Newswatch 12 Athlete of the Week. We'll be right back with our pick'ems right after the break.
Welcome back to the Sportswatch 12 Face-Off. We got some big-time games coming up this week. Let's see who we think will come out on top. First off, 2 semifinal GNC hockey games. We'll start with Tomahawk Mosinee. Will, who do you got?
It's going to be a close game. I'm going to take Mosinee.
All right, and Drew?
Well, if you're going to pick them to win, you got to pick them in the semifinals. I'm going Tomahawk.
Absolutely. Mosinee won the GNC Conference Tournament last year. You think they're winning it this year. I think Tomahawk gets the win in that one. The next semifinals game, Lakeland Union hosting Wapaka. Who do y'all got, the T-Birds or the Fighting Comets?
I'm going to go with the Comets in this one and the Nate and my Hawks town, Wapaka.
All right.
Yeah, shout out Nate. I'm going with the Comets. I think they go in there and pull an upset. I don't know if that's the word. I think Lakeland might be a favorite, but I think Wapaka's going to take them down.
Yeah. Nate Myhawk, I got some bad news for you. I'm the guy going against your school. Give me the Lakeland Union T-Birds, and they're going to end up winning the conference anyways. Moving over to basketball now, the Medford girls just got a huge 20-point win over Mosinee. They got Rhinelander coming up. Can the Raiders pull off the upset?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Rhinelander's going to get it done and get the win this time around.
All right.
Potential trap game before Lakeland Union, but I like the Hodags. I think they're just playing well, and I think they get the win against Medford.
I'm actually going to take the trap game. Mosinee is not a team you can just waltz in and beat by 20, and I think they're doing something right. I think if they're doing that right, they got the momentum to take down Rhinelander. Give me the Raiders. Boys basketball now. Crandon taking on Auburndale on the road in a battle of the birds. Will it be the Cardinals or the Eagles?
Well, Auburndale's playing too well this season. They may be one of the best basketball teams in our area. It's Auburndale.
I got to pick one upset on the board, right? Give me Crandon. I've seen them play a couple of times. They can surprise you if they play well. And if they do, they can give Auburndale a good game.
Oh, yeah, anyone can beat anyone. I just think in this game, that anyone beating anyone is Auburndale beating Crandon. I think Auburndale is winning. Sticking with boys basketball, the Hodags are hosting one of the top teams in the state in Spash, but the Panthers are struggling as of late. Will that be enough to help Rhinelander pull off the upset at home?
I'm going to say no. I think Spash is going to figure things out and get back on track. I think they're going to get the win.
Yeah, Spash, top 10 Division I team. Rhinelander has struggled versus the Wisconsin Valley Conference so far this season. Give me Spash.
Yeah, they're what, 0-5, 0-6 against the Valley? Maybe 0-6, 0-7. I think we're all in agreement. We've got Spash winning this one. Finally, our game of the week, Rhinelander, Lakeland Union, girls basketball. Who's coming out on top?
I've been saying Auburn Clark is the key to this team. She is going to get them to a state tournament title soon. I'm picking Rhinelander to get the win.
Ooh, big time win. Drew?
No disrespect to Ryan Clark and the Rhinelander girls. Not yet, ladies. Okay. Unfortunately, it's still Lakeland Union, and I'm going with the T-Birds.
Yeah, I think, Rhinelander came into Minocqua first time they played this year. Lakeland beat them by, I think, 30 or 40. Now, it's in Rhinelander. I don't think that matters. Lakeland Union is going to win, probably not by 30 or 40 since it's at Rhinelander, but I still think the T-Birds are going to come out on top and win it. Well, that's all the time we've got for the Face-Off. Be sure to tune in to Newswatch 12 this week at 5, 6, and 10 for your local sports report, as well as our Friday Night Blitz Fridays at 10. For Drew Chelly, Will Harrelson, I'm Saul Meyer. Thank y'all, and y'all have a great week.